Hey everybody, Nick the Record Lover here on Friday, January 27th, 2023. Good to see you all out there. This is my first live broadcast on YouTube, and this is my channel, Nick the Record Lover. I've collected so many records and so many CDs and so many Blu-rays over the past X amount of years, and I just bought this one, the Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, a couple of weeks ago at a friend's record shop. And I think it's a 1970s pressing, and the original catalog number for this was SD 7255, and it was released on Atlantic Records in 1973. Here's the original inner sleeve with the lyrics, front and back. Houses of the Holy going backwards on the other side, and the cover is pretty iconic. As see, this is an album that's pretty much, I wouldn't say new to me because I heard tracks from it all around high school and in college. And when I first heard it, it would probably was the CD version that was the 1990 CD. And I don't think the master tapes were that good for those CDs that came out. So it was over many years later that I always liked the song of, well, that's Fool in the Rain. That's a different album. That's In Through the Outdoor. But this album cover always intrigued me. It's six kids climbing up a mountain, and it overlaps to the back. And here we have the beautiful gatefold cover. So this I would say is a 1976 press of this LP. Could be 77 because I just want to be very easy with this record. It has the Warner Brothers logo at the bottom along with the Atlantic information. And it says here, copyright 1973 Atlantic. The serial number on here, the catalog number here is SD 19130, and it's on the Atlantic green, white, and orangey red label. The original was SD 7255 if you have an original pressing from 1973. Kind of hard to find. But the person that owned this record before me must have cleaned this record immaculately, because it might have came in an Atlantic sleeve, because a lot of times the Atlantic records came in, if it was Atco, it was the Atco catalog or what was out on Atco at the time. And this would say from the Atlantic catalog, that would have what was out up until 1973. And I've seen those sleeves, but I've yet to see one that has one with the Led Zeppelin record. And I did buy a few Led Zeppelin records recently. I bought a reissue of Physical Graffiti, and it was really interesting because when I was down in the record shop, it was $36.99. It's a brand new copy on 180-gram vinyl. And then I saw a box that said records half price, or records differently priced, or half priced, I should say. And I found it for $18.99, and it was the same 180-gram vinyl as it was in the Led Zeppelin bin. So I just picked that one up for $18.99. That one is still sealed. That would be for a later video. If you guys want me to do some more Led Zeppelin records, I'd be happy to do some more Led Zeppelin, because I am rediscovering the group now. Along with In Through the Outdoor, I bought a beautiful 180-gram version of that record, and I did just find an original with the paperback cover. When I bought that one, my friend in the record shop who owns the shop said, you don't see many In Through the Outdoors with the paperback cover. You usually just see it with the picture of the guy at the bar and the swipe to make the picture look color instead of black and white. But I did find one, an original one, for $20. The reissue is packaged the same way with the original artwork. It sounds terrific. It's on 180-gram vinyl. So I said that on one of my last videos that someday I may get one that's an original paperback cover, and sure enough, I did. I haven't played it yet, and I paid about $20 for it, which is what I thought was pretty fair, because it had the brown paper bag on it and the original inner sleeve that if you take a a wet paper towel or a wet sponge, you could color the picture. It's all watercolor. It's like add water and the picture would become, color. But this album, not only was the music wonderful on this record, I mean, songs like, well, I remember Dancing Days, but hearing this on a great system with a great stylus, um, it was amazing. It was like hearing the tracks for the first time, and the song remains the same. That opens it up with the beautiful instrumental and John Bonham's drums, and gives you all the information on here on all the songs of who played and who sang, and who did what. And this is pretty sweet for the inner sleeve. I mean, I have it inside the poly bag, but this is a pretty sweet copy, even though it's a 1976, 1977 copy. I mean, you got songs like Dancing Days that Jimmy Page and Robert Plant wrote. And Robert Plant is a great singer. I saw him live in Continental Airlines Arena, which was originally Brendan Byrne Arena in New Jersey. And it was Continental Airlines Arena in 1990, the summer of 1990. My friends at the time, big Led Zeppelin fans, they said, "We got to go see him. You got to come see Robert Plant. You got to get the experience of Robert Plant." So I said, "Okay." I said, because I also saw Paul McCartney that same year, and I don't know if that was after or before. That may have been before. I think that Plant might have been after I saw McCartney because I saw them both for the first time in 1990, and McCartney was at Giant Stadium, and Robert Plant was at Continental Airlines Arena. Um, and Robert Plant was fabulous. I mean, he strutted right down the stairs. He just went into most of the Zeppelin songs, I would say. I don't think, from what I recall, he did not do any Honey Drippers material like Sea of Love, and I remember that video coming out. Uh, but I don't think he did any of that. I think he did a lot of Led Zeppelin stuff, and maybe what his solo stuff was up until that point. But he was satisfying everybody in the audience with everything. And when he did Dancing Days, the place went crazy. But I love it when he just sings the lyrics when he's like, "I got my flower, I got my power," what's it say? Yeah, I got my flower, I got a woman who knows. And then it's like, is that the way it should start? Hey, and then Jimmy Page just goes right into that guitar riff. It's just like he's ready to go right into that part with the guitar. I mean, you listen to these albums, and it's like it's fresh for me for the first time to hear something like this. And it's amazing how John Bonham is a really great drummer. I just heard it all through high school. Oh, it's Bonham, it's Bonham. Oh yeah, you got to hear him. And now finally I did because as I've gotten older, I could appreciate this stuff on my own, you know, alone, and take it in all for myself and make my own decision. So I think, and I just saw a great review by Michael Noland on here. He's got a great channel, and he did his review of Houses of the Holy, and it's an amazing review. So if you want to check him out, it's Michael Noland, Noland. It's Michael Noland, and he has an excellent channel. He talks about the latest albums, Revolver, the box set, all different topics. I mean, you just have to check him out. But to get back to this, the song lyrics, I mean, they could write good lyrics, Led Zeppelin. I mean, maybe from other people, you'll say it's an understatement. But, the ocean, great. And I'll tell you something about songs like the ocean or the rain song. That sounds a lot like progressive rock, not so much like hard rock. I would say more progressive because you had Genesis on Atlantic in 1973. Actually, it's the original Charisma label, or the Great Charisma label, which was part of Atlantic Records. That's what released Foxtrot and Selling the by the Pound. But there was a lot of progressive stuff out at that time on Atlantic Records, and Genesis was no exception to that. And Houses of the Holy has two songs that are basically, I think that are, and the Rain song is one of them, and I think the Ocean is another, maybe even No Quarter. It's like more progressive rock. So the album was produced by Jimmy Page, and he did a great job producing it. I mean, the sound is absolutely incredible. And this is just from a 1976 very clean LP. Like I said, the guy put this in a like a mobile fidelity type of sleeve or a disc washer, uh, valuable record protector sleeve. But he probably cleaned this on a very professional record cleaner before he sold it. I mean, and the cover is in terrific shape. And there's hardly any, if there's any, okay, a tiny bit of record wear up here because I've seen them with more record wear here in white. But this is, barely, unless you're looking for it, it's just here. But I didn't notice it when I bought it. I opened it. There was no writing on the label. There was no writing on the lyrics, which is really great. I mean, if I ever find an SD 7255, that's gravy on the mashed potatoes. But for me, like I really like this album. Got the song remains the same, written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Not many lyrics, but it's a lot of jamming, and it really opens up the album in a very strong manner. The Rain song, very nice. It is the summer of my smiles. Flee from me, keepers of the gloom, and they're all capitalized. Keepers of the gloom, like there's some kind of enemies, like they're knights, like they're dark knights in medieval times. And I felt the coldness of my winter. I never thought it would ever go. It's everybody gets the winter blues, especially after the holidays and stuff. So over the hills and far away. Now I know that acoustic guitar intro by Jimmy Page. Everybody knows that intro by Jimmy Page. And he just plays so well on that. And I'm sure many people, many of you musicians out there, many guitar players have learned that riff. I have yet to learn any Led Zeppelin riffs on my guitar, especially "Stairway to Heaven," because that's such a common guitar riff to learn. But I never did. But there's that joke in Wayne's World about when the guy puts no Stairway to Heaven. But get back to Houses of the Holy, the Crunge, um, written by all four members: John Bonham, John Paul Jones, Jimmy Page, and Robert Plant. And Robert Plant is going, I don't see that bridge. I can't see that bridge. I think it's a takeoff on Motown or a takeoff on Stax Records, where with James Brown, where he would yell, "Where's that bridge?" Like to play the bridge of the song, and then at the end you see, and then you hear the vocal, "Where's that confounded bridge?" And that's the way it ends. And when I was a kid, I was like, in my 20s, I was like, what does that even mean? But then I got it as I listened to the song more. Um, this is just a wonderful record. It's was produced by Jimmy Page and engineered by Eddie Kramer. And Eddie Kramer used it produced a lot of people. I mean, he dealt with Kiss. That's how I knew his name. Eddie Kramer was with Kiss because I knew he toured with them as a producer. But on the Ocean actually has backing vocals by John Paul Jones, Robert Page, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham, and it's that a cappella kind of thing at the end. And yeah, it's just a great record. It was recorded at Electric Lady Studios in New York and Olympic Studios in London, and the sleeve was done by Hypnosis, Hipgnosis, and the executive producer was Peter Grant. And this came out of Atlantic Recording Corporation, 1841 Broadway. I've actually seen the Adco company. I actually walked into that place on 1841 Broadway, and it was pretty amazing to walk into the office. I actually asked for a job at that point too, but they didn't have anything available. But oh, let's get to Now, some people, and I called it this when I used to play it on the radio in college. I used to call the song Dire Maker. Actually, there's a few other people that call it Dire Maker, or they call it Deer Maker or Germ Maker, because there's so many different stories to the title of this song. Um, it was on the plane in there was I think it was one of the band members who was talking to an older man, and he had a very thick Cockney accent. I think it was a Cockney accent, and he said, I'm taking my wife on a honeymoon, and or I took my wife on vacation," and the guy went, "Jamaica?" As to say Jamaica, like, "Did you take her to Jamaica?" So he went, "Jamaica?" Like, that's how they say it, like, it's like in a thick Cockney accent, and one of the band members, I mean, you guys can help me out there with who said it, but he said, "No, she went of her own free will." Like, in other words, did you make her go with you? Or, "No, she went of her own free will. She came with me." And that was like the joke. But it didn't, I always thought it was Dire Maker. I did. But I loved the reggae sound of it. And I loved playing it. I loved the groove of it. It was so great to play it on college radio. And that was back in 1991, 1993 when I played that song. Um, And then what's funny is that at the end, he's saying, "Whatever happened to Rosie and the Originals?" That's in the parentheses. And Rosie and the Originals was a 50s group, 60s group that had a hit called Angel Baby. And when they asked John Lennon what his favorite song was from Rosie and the Originals, he said, "Give Me Love," which is the B side of Angel Baby. And it's just a big jam session. He just loved it for that reason. And I heard it, and I didn't I at the time, I didn't know, because I haven't heard it in a long time. I maybe have heard it once, and I really have to hear it again to see what Lennon heard out of that that made it like his favorite song of all time, or one of his favorite songs of all time that really got him into rock and roll. But so I wanna know your thoughts on this album. I do. I know that many people love Led Zeppelin 2. I just bought Led Zeppelin 2. I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it from beginning to end. I probably have heard tracks from each of the Led Zeppelin original catalog albums. I haven't listened to Coda, and I haven't listened to Presence. The Zeppelin fans, the mainstream Zeppelin fans, have kind of stayed away from them, or they have them as completists. But some people say Presence is underrated. Some people love Coda. Coda, from what I understand, is songs that were culled from the first three albums. And of course, I did buy the fourth album, which is known as Zoso Symbols, or commonly Led Zeppelin 4. I do have that one. I did find that one. Again, it's another Warner Brothers. And it's it was really just great finding their records. And looking forward to hearing from you guys here. It's my first night going live, and you just let me know what's going on. I mean, how you guys doing? You know, let me know what's going down tonight. I mean, it's Friday night. It's a great night to listen to music. Um, so let me know what you think of this album. Okay, it's Nick the Record Lover here, and it's Friday night, January 27, 2023, and this is Houses of the Holy. And thanks very much for tuning in, and you guys can watch this again, and it'll be on my page. So definitely check out my page, Nick the Record Lover, on YouTube. And I have about this is going to be 7 videos now on the page. Definitely check out my blog. It's www.recordlover.wordpress.com/music a friend for life. And I also have an Anchor podcast. It's a podcast on Anchor. If you have Spotify, you should be able to watch it. It's anchor.fm/Nicholas-Aretano-Jr. Music a friend for life. That's my podcast. So I hope to see you guys all here. What albums would you like me to do next? I have so many in my collection. I there's another person on here who has a great collection as well, and she does a great video every Monday. She does Vinyl Monday. Her name is Abigail DeVoe. So reach out to her, watch her channel. You can tell her Nick the Record Lover sent you because I've commented on a lot of her videos. She's done some great albums that I would like to do in the future. But it's amazing how many people are looking at the albums that I've bought over the years and are really digging deep into them. So I'm signing off. If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it. Keep rocking and rolling. Peace. Good night, everybody, and have a great weekend.